Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as Luka Doncic to start the season, man. 4-0, Dallas looking nice, Luka looking like the MVP. Oh, gotta love it, man. Gotta love it.
It's a little shocking, to see this team come together and get these W's, but when Luka's dropping 30 plus points a night, it makes it pretty easy for them. And I mean, this guy, we know he's going to get an MVP in this league one day. It seems like this might be a campaign where he started it off just right.
I think it's this year, man. And honestly, also not having Kyrie play some of those games is kind of helpful. Really good for team chemistry. And Derek Lively, man, he's been a heck of an addition as a rookie. And Grant Williams, like this whole team is just kind of nicely being built around Luca now. It seems like it's all meshing better. So that and he's just otherworldly. We'll
This
see.
is
We'll
this
see
is
how
the
it
thing,
goes.
right? He's super
It's only
good.
4 games in.
This is it. This is the fun part of the season where we're a week and a half in for some of these teams, and people are already ready to burn the ship down or absolutely talk about championship hopes. But yeah, man, Derek Lively could be the steal of this draft potentially at this point, and the Mavericks are definitely chugging along. One of the few teams that are still at the top of the table. Are they still undefeated, Matt?
Yes, they are right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
still
are.
still 4-0, man.
But let's roll back. Let's talk about our takes here. I fell flat to start the season. LeBron, he was the leading scorer on the Lakers, but not for that team. Jokic out here, absolutely continuing his campaign. 29 points to open this season. But Matt, you over here with that 2-0 W. You getting the games right? I love what I hear.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think I picked it pretty easy. Denver over the Lakers. They're their daddy. The Lakers can't beat them. And Phoenix over Golden State. I knew that that early season energy, Golden State losing Jordan Poole, trying to figure out what they've got. I knew that Phoenix would squeak it out, even though they've gone in the complete opposite directions. Golden State's taken off, and Phoenix kind of faltered flat. But hey, man, again, still early. Happy to be 2-0 though with the predictions to start off the season.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can keep going. We'll see how things go from there. But I think this rolls us into Raps chat, Matt. An interesting way to start this season. We're over here. We're not ready to freak out yet because we've seen a lot of good stuff. But 2-4, definitely not the start we had hoped for.
Oh man, I mean, it's a rough one, especially because of how dense our schedule has been within the first week here. I mean, we played 4 games in 6 nights, including 2 back-to-back nights, so that's never helpful. Trying to beat, the Philadelphia 76ers on a back-to-back night is pretty difficult. Trying to beat them on a regular night for the Raptors is pretty difficult. But I've liked what I've seen in spurts from some of the guys. I mean, obviously Scotty's been, everything that we wanted to see. But there's definitely a lot of growth to still happen for this team. And nights like Milwaukee the other night, like really show you that this team can be very competitive, what we think they can be. But it does have to come together because right now it's not looking great for, full 48-minute games.
We talked about how this team is gonna hover around the 500 percentage at the end of the year, right? We're not, I mean, again, there's a ceiling and there's a floor. It can fluctuate in either direction, but this team has to figure it out, and it seems like it's starting in that weird direction where too many turnovers, poor mistakes, letting games slip through our fingers. These things happen, right? And we're a young team, and Darko is letting everybody, and we do mean everybody, have an opportunity to thrive and get their feet underneath them. And maybe part of that has led to some of these losses, but at the same time, it's allowed Scotty to thrive, like we've talked about. And so I'm going to hold on. It's week one. It's not even week two yet, but at the same time, we have to still be aware of that stuff because it exists and it may not go anywhere if they're not bringing it up.
Well, I think like the crazy part for us is the fact that Malachi Flynn is getting run and like it's so funny because like for years and years people have been, hating on Nick Nurse saying, get this man in the game. Malachi's dad's coming out saying the reason that my son's not, doing well in the NBA is because Nick Nurse won't give him run and
Yeah.
we give him run and this is his 3rd year now in the league He was already an older guard when we took him, so he's right smack dab, in the meat of his, prime for NBA. And he looks downright unplayable. He just, you know, I don't think he's athletic enough. I don't think he hits the three ball at a high enough rate. I don't think he creates enough for himself and for others. Um, he doesn't look like an NBA player out there to me. And so I would like to see other guys getting, more play, and maybe just kind of putting him back on the bench and dealing with him at the end of the season.
I
Like
mean,
I don't know, man.
every time I see a bad Malachi play, it, the little part in the back of my brain goes, man, if Dennis Schroeder wasn't here, what would our season look like right
Oh
now if Malachi was the
man,
only option playing point guard and we had to have more Siakam ball, more Scotty ball? Like, yeah, Flynn hurts a little bit, man. I'm not going to get into it because I think you laid it out great, but for me, it's the Dennis Schroeder is the savior when that kind of stuff is happening at the other end.
bro, if we didn't pick up Dennis Schroeder and had tried to go with Malachi Flynn, like it would have been a disaster. We'd be 0-6 right now.
We'd be the Grizzlies.
Because the man hasn't been positive in any of the games this year. I mean, Milwaukee was probably his best game where he like looked somewhat competent as an NBA player, and he was still -2. And I know plus minus isn't, a great stat like catch all, whatever. A lot of things go on that you can't affect the game, across the court. But I mean, it does have some indication on, does the team play better when you're out there or not? And to be like, I think he was -14 in both the opening games and like 4 minutes of play. Like it's saying a lot about who he is as a player and the fact that we need to find another guard to fill out the rotation, man.
And like part of me hurts because maybe if Gary was knocking down shots, Malachi stats might look a little bit better, but we can't just look for every excuse when it comes to that, right? And but yeah, Gary, man, that guy has somehow flopped into this season. It's not been good for him, but again, we're 6 games in. This system is not built for a player like him. He's trying to figure out his role, what he can do, and his shots aren't going down, but shoot or shoot, right? It's got to progress to the norm at some point, and once he gets his feet under him, kind of figures out his positions and his rotations a little bit better in the system that Darko is absolutely implementing on this team, I think his shots will start knocking down and he'll make sense. But right now, if Gary doesn't progress back to the norm, it's looking bad for this guy.
He's looking really, really shaky, man. Kind of um it's kind of jarring to see a guy who 2 seasons ago had a 7 game stretch that put him up with, the LeBron James,
Yeah,
Kevin Durant, Trey Youngs, John Morant's of the league. And now he can't hit, basic 3-point shots. He doesn't look like he's able to create for himself or, really fit into the system like you're saying. I think we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier. He's a play creator. Within the flow of a game, he can create his own offense and create offense for others when you give him complete autonomy and license to be who he wants to be. But when he has to fit it within a system, it doesn't seem to work.
yeah,
And so, like, it's just kinda scary and sad because I really had high hopes for Gary, man. I thought, like, 1, he's a better defensive player than a guy like Dennis Schroeder or Malachi, so we could use him in games where we, had to play a little bit more sound defensively.
yeah,
Because I think that's kind of where Schroeder's been held up a little bit. Like, you see him in the Milwaukee game dominate Damian Lillard offensively, but then he kind of couldn't dominate, the bigger guards in Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp for Portland, and it's
yeah.
part of the reason that we lost, right? Like he did not. I think that was his worst game as a Raptor so far. So it's tough, man. Like our guard position, it's been 3 years now of this. Like since 6'9", Vision 6'9's been a thing. Like guards have been very hard to come by for our team, and it's not like there's a plethora of them out there in the league that we can't go after. It's just somehow we never end up getting them.
It's true, right? And that's why Schroeder is this kind of like good and bad when it comes to it because yeah, when you think about what we've gotten him for, the way he's been able to be a better Kyle Lowry than Fred VanVleet kind of ever was in even this small sample size, like we have to give props to the front office for that decision, but at the same time, there's always better options. There's always more options out there. But like you mentioned, getting a proper solid guard that is going to be important for all aspects of the game that you need and be a floor general, they don't exist everywhere, man. They're not just growing on trees left and right, you know. Boston may finally have found one by getting Drew Holiday, and look what it's done for their team, right? Like, this is the world we live in.
I don't even know if we need like a floor general though. Like I just think that we need like competent guard play.
Yeah,
Like a Malcolm Brogdon would do wonders for this squad.
true.
A Cole Anthony could, elevate because he's at least hitting 40% of his threes. Like I liked what I've seen from the Scotty create. Like he's been good. And him and OG and they have a thing going. I like that. Yeah, it's just getting competent guard play, man. Like right now, I would say that like Dennis Schroeder is above league average for
Yeah.
his play, but nobody else on the roster is. And if you put Dennis into like the starting guard, hemisphere, like is he league average as a starting guard? Like very very questionably, like
When
right
you
down the middle, probably right.
That's it, right? And then when you think about the future of what we might have in the pipeline, obviously Flynn is going to get ejected out of the train at some point.
Exactly.
Gary might be on his way out, and you look at Grady. Grady's been up and down, but that's kind of what you expect from a rookie of his caliber. You know, the fact that he has had the defensive prowess that he has had in general has been great to see. Obviously,
Yeah.
we know he can knock down shots. His form is fantastic, right? And he's going to have a couple of good nights, and maybe he'll be a good piece in the future. But all those maybes, all these maybes, all this yes, no, like you're right, man. We need that solid bit, and that's why Scotty knocking down 39% of his threes on 4 attempts at night is like okay, because a lot of the battle against giving Scotty the full point guard reign is he hasn't really been a great knockdown shooter until it. But again, 6 games, but his form's looked better. He's come into this season looking like he spent the year off, knowing that if he wants to be somebody in this league, he has to put in the work, and it shows, man. It definitely shows at this point.
Man, he's just looked more confident, more willing to take the shot, more willing to step into it. I find that so often in the NBA, you see guys hesitate to shoot and then shoot anyways. That is the worst idea. I know sometimes it works, but I would, argue if you follow the majority of those plays, the percentages go down drastically after you hesitate. Whereas when guys catch and shoot confidently,
Yeah.
that's when it almost always feels like it's going in. When the guy pulls up and nobody's really around him, he feels it. That's when it's good, and that's what Scotty's been doing, man. Like he's had a couple of pull up threes, in transition. He's just been, he's been good, man. He's been really good, and I think that comes with the added confidence of knowing that this team is really his,
Yep.
right? Like he is the man on this team now. It's really him as the primary player, but like it's just crazy to think that like it's taken so much away from Siakam on the other hand, right? Like we love to see Scotty like this. We love to
Yeah.
see his threes, but it's really deteriorated Siakam's game. I mean, last year at this point he had already dropped a couple 30-point, triple doubles. This year, I mean, the man's struggling to crack 20 points on a nightly basis, and that I think to me is kind of scary.
It hurts. It definitely hurts when we know the caliber of play that Siakam can be, and whether this is a mental thing, whether this is just a rough start to the season for him. It's not one you want to see from an all-star caliber player on your roster that is going into a contract situation. So there's definitely a lot of questions around Siakam and his game and what's going on here, but he is, he's taking the second most amount of shots a game. Scotty is up there now with the most shots at 16 on average. So maybe this is a point where Siakam after 6 games is sitting back here and going, I don't know, this kind of sucks. This hurts. Hopefully, we're over here hoping that he has a moment of, I guess I got to go have one of those games. And then he comes out, he shows up, and maybe we get lucky in that Spurs game against Sunday. We don't have to worry about Wembanyama because Siakam puts in 45. But we haven't seen that yet from him, and so it's definitely a little bit worrying, to say the least.
Bro, I think like the Milwaukee game is like again obviously our best game of the season, but it underscores where we need to be as a team, right? Like
Yeah.
Anunoby, 7 of 7. He's been our most integral player. He's the only player on our team who hasn't had a minus in the box plus minus. He's the key cog, really, if you think about it. Because he facilitates everything so well. But then you got Barnes, 16 shots. You've got Siakam, 13 shots. You've got Dennis, 13 shots. See, Scotty's the only one at 16, and then there's Jakob Podol and Gary Trent over 10. Like that's kind of where the team needs to be in terms of who's shooting how often,
Yep.
and the percentages are obviously a lot better in the Milwaukee game, and that obviously helps. But man, like we can't have guys like Siakam thinking that he needs to go drop 35. But I'd love to see him with his 15 shots a game,
Yeah.
score 11 buckets and drop 24. Like that's I think like where he needs to be this season. And if he can consistently give us that level of play while Scotty's giving us this level of play and OG is just third man wheeling,
Right.
shutting people out, stealing, blocking shots, like doing whatever he needs to do, like I think this team can go deep, man, because like I think about the top three, like a trio in this league, and people are talking about, the James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. Like, I'd take our three over their three any day of the week. Let's be
we
real.
we love our young talent. We love what it can all come together, and at their peak, when they're playing at their best, those three guys can be unstoppable. We haven't seen it yet this season. We haven't seen all three of the Triforce come together and have those nights, but we're gonna see it, man. Hopefully, it works out on maybe an NBA in-season tournament night. We get a nice big W, a nice fat win for the boys, but it's gonna happen, man. We have some great talent, and Darko has been working it. Right, he's been working it. We were sad that Precious has been injured the way that he has been, because obviously it would have been great to have against Philadelphia. We talk about how great he has been in the past. So, we're hoping for that groin injury to become healthy. But yeah, Darko is trying things. He's letting everybody have an option. He's letting this team really run and figure out where they can be. And whether that is a full season thing or whether that's, 20 games to settle in and really figure out what this team can be and what people are willing to do, that'll be the evolution of where his coaching can go for this squad. Because again, first year coach, the guys seem to like him. The media seems to
They
like
love
him.
him.
The
Yeah.
vibe in the locker room after that first game, him coming in was pretty fantastic. Shout out OG once again, water bottle sniper coming in, trying to absolutely take people out, cause damage with those bottles. But those are the moments that I hope to see more of this season. Is the team hyped up, coming together around Darko and what he's trying to do, because I can't have a season like last year again, man. Those vibes were so off, and even though we're 2-4, the vibes in this season have still been great, I think.
No, I think that the vibes have been pretty good. Obviously, like nobody likes the losing. Nobody likes to start, 2 games under 500. But I do agree that, what Darko's doing is he's trying to build us up from within and really trying to get the guys to trust each other and, have that spread offense like we were talking about. So if we could do that, I think that it'll lead to a lot more of those moments that you're looking for. Obviously, winning keeps the team hype
Yeah,
over losing, and I think that there's definitely still a lot more. I think there's a lot more winning ability in our future. Obviously, the Portland game, like that one sucks, and the Chicago game, I feel like we just gave that one away. But like the other two losses to Philadelphia, it's not the worst. I mean, Embiid's the MVP, and Tyrese Maxey's looking like an All NBA caliber player this year. So
man.
like the two of
Maxi.
them, Harris has looked good, like they've got a good squad. So, losing to them is rough, but one of them is a back to back. It's really that Portland Chicago loss that's kind of eating at me. And Portland's a little bit more understandable with the back to back. Chicago, man. We were up like what, 17
Yeah,
points, like 4 minutes left. Like it was
yeah.
nuts.
We shouldn't let Caruso do what Caruso does. He's too good. I still can't believe the Lakers let that man walk. But when it comes to the Raptors, man, I'm looking ahead, man. I'm looking at the future. I'm waiting for more games. We're gonna let the team settle in. Obviously, we want to see less turnovers and more assists. Like, I'm pretty sure in that Milwaukee game they had 35 assists, Matt. And that right there is chef's kiss. It's what we want to see. But again, that's also knocking down shots early, getting going, and again, it's about confidence, man. And maybe it's because our team is young. Maybe it's because they're fresh together. But again, when the shots go down and they gain a little bit of confidence, they can keep consistently running the system that
They
Darko
look like they'd
wants.
roll anybody,
Yeah.
right? Like it's exactly that. It's when the shots aren't going, they start to lose a little bit of faith in the system and how they're playing. And you've got those old memories. I'm sure Siakam does of like, well, if I just go to town, if I just take them to task, I'll will us into this game. I can keep us here if you guys just run the offense through me. And so that's like there's like that whole push pull thing. Like you said, 6 games
And
in,
and
hopefully
I'm
cohesively gel soon.
and I'm not against that mentality. There are times where, you see the right situation and I'm like, Siakam, go. You got 5 seconds here where you can absolutely destroy your mismatch here. Go be your guy. And guess what? You draw the double team. And sometimes we see it work out against Milwaukee where now Yak is free under the bucket for an easy dunk. Now Scotty has been left open for a three that the teams are like, yeah, nah, he's fine. 39% from three so far, right? Like I'm okay with it in spurts, but yeah, to go into that mentality, fall back into it, and just not be the flowing offense that we've seen such success from, that's not what we want at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, again, man, it's our shots. If we hit our shots, if we hit our 3 pointers, we win. If we don't, we lose. And it's tough for a team that doesn't have a lot of knockdown shooters.
Valid,
It's a
valid.
rough one, but it is what it is, man. I'm looking forward to the games coming up this week. We get to see Wembanyama. That's kind of cool, and
Yeah,
then we go see Luka Doncic. So, the two next superstar Hall of Fame NBA greats back to back games, man. I'm serious.
it's kind of crazy. It'll be a fun week for the boys with these games that we got going on. But does that mean we're ready to move along? Shall we talk about the rest of the NBA? Because it's again, we're only a week and a half in. There's not too much going on, but there's been some really interesting storylines. There's been some fun stuff going on. Matt, what tickles your fancy? Where you want to start here?
Well, it doesn't tickle my fancy, but I do want to get it out of the way. Is that James Harden trade, man?
Yeah.
Goes to the Clippers, with PJ Tucker, and the Clippers again just trade away their draft picks and hope that this mythical creature of Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden and Russell Westbrook are gonna work out. Um, that's a strange one for me. How do you feel about it?
I mean, look, they're one more piece away from having the SoCal Exodia. All right, they got four guys, like Paul George was saying, and I think I mentioned this a while ago when they picked up Russell. Having the three local guys to finally pull it through for them would be good. Well, they got four now. They got another one. If they can find that fifth piece, maybe they'll do it. But man, the chips that are bet on these guys, the fact that they've never, I mean, Paul George has never really been able to do it. Playoff P, can we talk about that? Like Kawhi is not the man he was 4 years ago, 5 years ago at this point. Like the Clippers are in a scary point where, 2, 3 years from now, if it does collapse the way that, you and I kind of expect it to, what will they even have, man? What will they even have?
Man, they've got nothing. They've got no draft picks. They've got aging veterans, all of them over the age of 34.
Yeah.
All of them well past their prime. Like, yeah, okay, you have the four of them in their prime. That might be the greatest squad ever assembled. But right now, like it's not. And they're all players who need to kind of have the ball in their hands,
Yeah, it's wild.
which is a shock. Russell Westbrook's been playing some of his best basketball
Lights out.
in 4 or 5 years, and you're going to bring in James Harden, who literally it was so bad when they played together that they both requested a trade out of Houston. They had to trade both of them out of Houston
Dude,
because they hated it so much with each other.
I read
And
a
now you're like, yeah, this is going to work. Like, I don't understand. Like people are so short sighted. Like, do you not think about the history? Like, I don't
dude,
know, man.
it
It's just
hurts me.
the stupidest trade.
It hurts me the way Westbrook was playing, and reading the report that Harden is now tied for like the most trades post all for an All-Star player right? And Russell Westbrook, him and both of them have 4. They've been traded 4 times to being an all-star. And I'm like, I swear, James Harden, if you go to this team and get Russell Westbrook traded just so he gets traded a 5th time away, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, Russell's been playing so good. He's been great for this Clippers team that are holding on. I think they're in the playoffs. They are like the 6th seed right now. I mean, 3-2, 6th seed. Haha, what are we talking about? Early game of the season. But man, I swear, unless Harden could, like, the comments, Matt. I'm not a system player. I am a system. Like, I'm
I know.
worried
Like,
about.
immediately.
I'm worried about what we're gonna see from this Clippers squad. But again, these guys, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of potential, and I think Ivica Zubac is over here just like, what did I get myself into? Like, such a solid basic
Bro,
center that has to deal with these 4 guys.
they beating Denver? No.
No,
They beating the Lakers? No.
I mean, if AD's
They
injured,
beat they're beating, Golden State or Phoenix? Maybe Phoenix.
maybe.
Everybody's beating Phoenix now. But but like what are they doing, man? They just don't have the
Yeah,
roster. Honestly, the move for them, I know they're going into a new arena and they want a superstar to, kind of show off that arena. How about no? How about you go get a bunch of first overall draft picks? How about you go, trade Kawhi, trade PG, keep Russ as like your entertainment and whatever for the next
right.
building, but go get draft picks, man, and build that team from the ground up. You look at the teams that are like some of the most dominant teams in the NBA, and a lot of them are assembled through the draft and development. Yeah,
Yep.
there's a trade here and there. Like you look at Denver, they traded for Aaron Gordon, whatever. But most of that nucleus has been homegrown, right? Like you look at Golden State, homegrown. Luka Doncic and the Mavs. I mean, they're having more success with the homegrown players than they are with the trades and the free agents. So to me, it didn't make sense. But hey, man, Clippers gonna clip, and as a Raptors fan who hates them, deep down with a passion because they stole our back-to-back championship from us because we would have been back-to-back champions. I do not doubt it. They stole that from us.
Yeah.
Um, good riddance. Sucks to suck.
Good riddance. Yeah, man. Honestly,
Losers.
I just don't see how it comes together for this Clippers squad. I like the Lakers better than I like the Clippers right now, but that's also LeBron being LeBron, and I don't know if you want to talk about the timeless man right now or if you want to save him for later.
You
But I
can,
mean,
man, but he's
what
the
are we
goat,
supposed to expect at this point, right? This is what he does. It's year 21.
bro. Michael Jordan could never. He could not even think about doing what LeBron James did. This man quit basketball twice. LeBron is in year 21 acting like he's still 25, okay? People are like, "Oh yeah, LeBron's like he's lost a step. He's only like the 5th best player in the league." Okay.
It's insane, man. And this is why I was so high on LeBron, a week ago when we were talking about our preseason predictions, because this guy knows what he has to do to win games. And I mean, staying up and watching that OT winner against the Clippers was amazing, because he had little spurts where there were people in that arena, people on the floor, everywhere going, how you supposed to stop this guy? Like, I know Wemby is the cream of the crop. Everyone's loving what he's doing right now, but LeBron is timeless. He's ageless. He's putting up more points combined than everybody else who's been in a 21 year season. Like, hats off. I feel like every once in a while I say this on the podcast, but the world is going to miss out when this guy decides that it's time to pull it up and stop playing this game.
You know what, man? At the end of his career, at least I'll never, look in the mirror and say, "Well, I didn't appreciate LeBron." Like I appreciate this man's greatness.
Yeah.
This guy, like again, you want to say Michael had like the higher peak. That's an argument. You can argue it because of the championships, whatever. I'll give that to you. But the longevity, the consistency, the just like overall just tenacious mentality. Like people will talk about him not being like a dog. Man's a dog. He is 38 years old. He's the oldest player in this league and he's still running it. All right? Like I get it. Young guys like Wemby, Luca, those guys are on the come up. Nikola Jokic, probably best player in the world right now. We get it.
Yep.
LeBron James, guys, is still here, and it's a marvel to behold, man. Because he should have been retired, like by most accounts, 4 years ago.
Should have retired. A guy like him would have retired Sorry, not a guy like him, but a guy on top of the world who wants to keep his blemish forever. Would have retired after the bubble championship. But nah, man,
Exactly.
it's been beautiful to see the Lakers. They're still around like we thought they would be. You know, if AD figures himself out and decides to show up for all games instead of just first halves, the Lakers are going to be all right. They're going to figure it out. Darvin Ham knows how to work this system, and I mean, we were mentioning it. I like the Lakers better than the Clippers right now, even though you think about aging veterans and all that jazz. But can we flip to Wemby now? Can
Right.
we can we
Right.
flip can
Yeah.
we flip to the next age because it's his
I
time, dude? 38 points on Kevin Durant? Like what are we
well,
talking about, Matt? What are we talking
this
about?
man is hilarious because he gives us like little teasers like a 15-point game, an
Yeah, yeah.
11-point game, an 18-point game, and then just comes in with the hammer, almost drops a 40 piece on Kevin Durant. My favorite. Have you seen the picture of them both standing beside the box waiting for a free throw rebound? And it's like Kevin Durant and just like a large Kevin Durant. And
Right?
it's like,
Oh
oh man,
man.
they are like the exact same. Just Wemby dwarfs him. Wemby makes him look small, and
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is not a small man. Um, good luck, league. Good luck, rest of the world.
Seriously.
I guess Wemby's winning 5 championships, and the Raptors should just kind of pack it in because, like, I mean, what are we even here for?
Look, I
Scotty
knew
Barnes, like, is he gonna
look,
guard Wemby? Like,
Look, I knew that we were living in a simulation for a long time, but it's starting to make more sense with guys like Wemby because the man had the exact same debut as Tim Duncan. 15 points, 2 assists,
yeah,
6 of 9 field goals.
just for
He's
rebounds.
he. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The guy has put up just a little bit more points over 5 games, just over 100 points, and the Admiral had 100 points in his first 5 games, and for this guy to walk into Kevin Durant's home twice and walk out with both W's and look like the boss that he has been, man, San Antonio, what is going on? You guys are so happy right now. There are fans who wake up every morning and they're like, "I'm thankful for Victor Wembanyama because this guy has been unreal." And you think about the rest of this roster with what Devin Vassell's been doing, with what Jeremy Sohan's been doing, like you talk about teams that have built through the draft and are ready to go and are working their way into it. Man, the Spurs in a couple years are going to be real scary.
They're 3-2 already. They actually might have a good winning season. Like I wouldn't put it past them to have a winning season. That's how dominant Victor Wembanyama has been.
Yeah.
It's like he's that 2K player when you're like, in playing 2K online and that guy just shows up with the lanky arms and the lanky body and you're like, all right,
Oh
cool, guy's
man.
hacking.
All
Like
right.
that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody's hacking and Wembanyama just like, it's nuts, man. I've never seen anything like it. The guy has yet to not record a block in a game. He has one game without a steal so far. Like he is everything is advertised, and the only thing that can stop him is injuries. And I
Seriously.
hope we don't see that because like this man, it's so funny because like LeBron's gonna end his career and everyone's gonna have this LeBron versus Jordan debate. And of course, at the end of his career, some guy shows up who's about to smash that debate and be like, "Guys, it's me. I'm the GOAT."
I mean,
Like,
this
sorry.
is the thing, right? Like we know Luka has the potential to be fantastic. You look at what Jokic is able to do in the league, but if Wemby can stay healthy with the freak of nature, the fact that he's not a unicorn, he's an alien at this point. That's what people are going to like. His potential is limitless, and the team is already ready to be built around him to walk in. And like I said, man, Greg Popovich is going to die on a basketball court because he's going to coach for the next 20 years of Wemby's career because like he's the perfect archetype player for his coaching system, and Greg Popovich is basically the coaching goat at this point, honestly.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. And he's so flexible. Like it's crazy how flexible he is. So, oh man, I think that it's gonna be a crazy, crazy, 15 plus years of watching Wembanyama, and the league really lucked out with this guy. They hit a home run jackpot,
Seriously.
putting him in San Antonio too.
Oh man.
Ah, they
It's
would.
rigged, man.
They
There's
would.
moments like this where I'm like, it's gotta be rigged, and just simple years that he just,
Well, it's like when Edmonton gets McDavid and Gretzky. You're like, what? Like, who wrote that in the book?
this thing, man. We're in a simulation. It's all scripted. But let's talk about some of these scores. Let's talk about the Celtics and the Mavs being 4-0. We already really mentioned the Mavs, but we only kind of touched on the Celtics a little bit. And we don't love
Oh,
talking about Boston, but they're the best team in the league right now by far. Honestly, in terms of
bro,
statistics,
they're
by far.
they're sick. but they haven't beaten anybody. Like they beat the brakes off the Pacers, but
Yeah,
they beat Washington. They beat the Knicks, I guess you could say is somebody. But yeah, they haven't really played anybody too crazy. Also, like a softer, lengthier schedule than us. Like they've had days off.
yeah,
I want to see them play against the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to see them play the Raptors. I want to see them play the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cavs. That's when we're going to really know who the Boston Celtics are.
yeah.
And if this defensive, I don't like shift, I don't want to say downgrade, this defensive shift, if it's going to hurt them, or if they're going to be strong enough offensively to overcome it. But yeah, man, I mean, they're sick. The Mavs are sick. Really, the team that's sick that I want to talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans,
There
man,
it is.
because your boy got it right.
There it is.
If Zion can stay healthy, if Brandon Ingram can stay healthy, this team is a top 4 team in the NBA, and I knew it. All right, I knew it 3 years ago, mothers.
I'm just gonna I'm stepping out of a time door to a year ago or whenever the last season started, where I'm sure at this exact same moment take a snapshot. Because
Probably.
man, if Zion's healthy, dude, he's one of the most dominant players in the league. It's kind of
Duh.
insane. We knew the Pelicans were good, but hopefully they keep going 4-1. Man, you gotta love to see it for a guy like Zion.
Man, it's unbelievable. I love it. It's the whole reason that my heart is warm today when the Raptors are 2-4 like they are, man. That I also think that the fact that the Memphis Grizzlies are 0-5 is kind of objectively
Oh
hilarious,
man.
considering how good they were without John Morant. How everyone was like, "Oh yeah, they're not going to miss John Morant," and how they've just imploded. No Dylan Brooks, man. It's got to be it. It's
It's
got to be it.
gotta be it, man. It's wild. I've watched a little bit. I haven't fully watched their games. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch their game tonight for sure. They're on the docket, but it hurts, man. It must absolutely hurt to see this team absolutely crumbling. And Jaw's sitting at home, just absolutely upset with himself,
Playing with
probably.
guns.
Yeah,
What?
what? Yeah, exactly. He's thinking he's got to show up at the arena to scare the opposing bench, but y- you know this is the beginning of the season, right? These things happen. Memphis will be all right, but their hold on a top 4 seed in the West, especially when Golden State is 4-1, looking great. Chris Paul, Klay Thompson with a game winner, like this is an interesting thing for Memphis. They're kind of stuck in the dirt right now, and you think about what the Lakers had to go through last season after the 2-10 start that they have.
Yeah.
We know that Memphis can do great in the back end of the season for sure, and maybe they'll roll into the playoffs doing good, but for a team that is as young as it is, they can't afford to be in the holes like this. The mentality that it does on some of these
All
kids is
right.
not good.
All right. Hear me out. Hear me out. I got the trade. We give them Precious Achua, give them Malachi Flynn and Gary Trent Jr., and we get Desmond Bain and Brant Clark.
If only. If only, man.
Right?
One
Well,
day,
I'll even throw in a first round pick.
Matt will give anything for Desmond Bain. He would love
Bruh,
the universe where we
he would look
drafted.
so good on our Raptors. Come on. He
Okay,
would.
okay.
Tell me he wouldn't look good.
Okay. We'll talk about Memphis when they get any. I'm a Memphis guy. Matt knows I love me the Grizzlies, but the Heat 1-4. Does that worry you? I know Jimmy's been kind of injured, but it's
Bro, they're not a regular season team. Like
there. You
they're
go.
gonna fight and claw. I had them in the ninth seed for a reason, right? They're gonna fight their claw their way, get in, maybe win a play-in game, and then
Who
make it all the
knows?
way to the final again. That's just kind of the ethos of Jimmy Butler.
It's so true, man. When they played the Bucks and Dame and him walked past each other and they had that moment of just like, oh hey bro, like what could have been, what could have been. But yeah, the Heat will be fine. I'm not worried about them. Any other teams, Matt, that you want to bring up this week? You want to talk about?
No, man, I think it's still pretty early. I love the fact that Fred VanVleet and those Rockets haven't looked great, but I mean that's really just the Raptors fan in me. I think that it's been a good start to the season, more or
Yeah,
less, for most teams. Obviously, it's still really early. 0-5 is not insurmountable. It's a hole, but it's not insurmountable. But everybody's really, floating around that like 2 games below 500 or 2 games above, and at the end of the day, man, like there's still 40 or 80, 76 plus games
yeah.
to play for most
This
teams.
is this is the thing, right? Talk to
So
us. Talk to us after 20 games. I feel like we say this every season. Once we get to that
talk to me
20,
after 40, bro.
well, 40's moment was legit, but 20 games is when you could start really making speculation about what teams are actually going to be once they've played a decent chunk of the teams, right? Because once you hit 20 games, you've played most likely half the teams in the league at this point.
Yeah.
You look at us, we played the Philadelphia 76ers twice already, so maybe not exactly statistically that, but that's when we start to know. So we'll come back next week, the week after, the following week, and we'll really break down these teams and see where things go. But I mean, week 1, week 2 observations already. LeBron is the GOAT. He's timeless. Wemby is showing up ready
The
to
future.
absolutely see the next step. And the Raptors are the Raptors. That's
And
where
Luke
we're
is the
at.
now, man. And Luke, no.
Luke,
All right. Because you know
Luke,
what, man? And he's going to prove it because he's got a game against the best player in the world tonight. It's in season tournament play tonight.
it's
And
happening.
my boy Luca is taking it seriously and he's beating the Denver Nuggets and they're going to go to 5-0.
I mean, I'd love to see it. Obviously, big games tonight. Obviously, the start of the new in-season tournament. Games Tuesdays and Fridays in November. I mean, the Raptors we're hanging out for a while. We'll be the end of the month. They'll cram all of our games together like they love to do. But I didn't start the season very strong, man. I'll throw a flyer out here. The Grizzlies, they're 0-5. The game tonight matters. They're going to get a dub, okay? I believe in this team. They're facing the Portland Trailblazers, and unless you're the Raptors, you can beat this team. So, hey, I believe. I believe in the Grizzlies tonight.
Hey, man, hopefully they get that dub for you. I know you're a Grizzlies guy. Bring them to Vancouver. What?
Yeah, man, that's the other hope. Maybe they'll just collapse a little bit, and then we can have Ja in Canada. But no, that's a scary thought. We don't approve of that type
He
of.
wouldn't like gun laws up here.
Anyways, okay. Before we lose ourselves here, anything else, my friend?
Nah, man, you're good to wrap this up.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook at the Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up. Check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.